The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "The way up and down are one and the same." What he understood 2,500 years ago is what modern consciousness researchers are only beginning to grasp. The journey inward and the transformation of outer reality are not separate processes. They are the same movement happening simultaneously across different dimensions of your experience. Right now, as you listen to these words, something extraordinary is taking place. Your reality is not the fixed, immutable structure you have been conditioned to believe it is. It exists in a state of constant flux, responding to the deepest currents of your inner awareness. The moment you truly look within, not with casual curiosity, but with genuine attention, the entire fabric of your experience begins to reorganize itself according to patterns you never knew existed. Most people live their entire lives convinced that they are separate from the world around them. They believe consciousness is something that happens inside their skull while reality unfolds independently outside. This fundamental misconception keeps them trapped in cycles of reaction and resistance, forever trying to change circumstances from the outside while ignoring the creative power that operates from within. What if everything you have been taught about the relationship between inner and outer experience is backwards? What if the world you perceive is not happening to you, but through you? What if your consciousness is not a passive observer of reality, but the active principle that shapes every moment of your experience? These are not philosophical questions designed to stimulate intellectual debate. They point toward a direct recognition that will completely transform how you navigate existence. When you discover the true relationship between consciousness and reality, you gain access to creative capacities that most people never imagine possible. The process begins with a simple shift in attention. Instead of constantly looking outward for solutions, validation, or meaning, you turn your awareness toward the source from which all experience arises. This inward movement is not about becoming self-absorbed or disconnected from the world. It is about recognizing the fundamental creative principle that has been operating through you all along. Your thoughts are not random mental events that happen to you. They are creative forces that actively participate in shaping the reality you experience. Every sustained thought pattern creates corresponding conditions in your outer world. Every deeply held belief becomes a lens through which you perceive and interact with circumstances. Every emotional state generates a field of influence that attracts matching experiences. The reason most people remain unconscious of this creative process is that they have never learned to observe their own mental and emotional patterns with sufficient clarity. They are so identified with the content of their thoughts that they cannot see the creative mechanism itself. They experience the effects of their consciousness, but remain blind to the cause. When you develop the ability to witness your own mental processes without being consumed by them, something remarkable happens. You begin to see how every aspect of your external experience corresponds precisely to patterns operating within your awareness. The difficult person who appears in your life reflects an inner conflict you have not resolved. The financial challenges you face mirror your relationship with abundance and self-worth. The health issues that arise reveal emotional patterns that need attention. This is not about blame or judgment. It is about recognizing the creative power that has always been yours. Once you see how consciousness shapes reality, you can begin to work with this process consciously instead of unconsciously. You can choose which thoughts to sustain, which emotions to cultivate, and which beliefs to embody. The transformation does not require years of practice or complex techniques. It happens the moment you recognize what has always been true. Your consciousness is not separate from the reality you experience. They are different aspects of the same fundamental creative process. When you align with this understanding, reality begins to reorganize itself according to your deepest intentions rather than your unconscious patterns. Consider how this works in practical terms. When you hold a sustained vision of what you desire to experience, you are not just thinking about the future, you are actively participating in the creation of that future by establishing the consciousness from which it can emerge. When you maintain emotional states of gratitude, joy, and appreciation, you are not just feeling good, you are generating conditions that attract experiences matching those states. The key lies in understanding that consciousness always comes first. External circumstances operates whether you are aware of it or not. They are always secondary effects of inner conditions. This principle only difference is that conscious recognition allows you to work with the process intentionally instead of being at the mercy of unconscious patterns. Your reality will rewrite itself the moment you look within, because looking within reveals the author of that reality. You discover that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creative force behind every experience. You realize that you are not separate from the intelligence that orchestrates events, but an expression of that intelligence itself. This recognition brings both tremendous freedom and profound responsibility. Freedom because you are no longer bound by the illusion that external conditions determine your experience. Responsibility because you can no longer blame outside forces for what appears in your life. Everything becomes an opportunity to exercise conscious creativity. The process unfolds naturally when you develop what could be called inner listening. Instead of constantly projecting thoughts and desires outward, you create space for deeper wisdom to emerge. You learn to distinguish between the voice of conditioning that repeats old patterns and the voice of authentic guidance that leads toward growth and fulfillment. Many people resist this inward movement because they fear what they might find. They have been taught to distrust their inner experience or to believe that consciousness is somehow less real than material circumstances. But consciousness is the most fundamental reality there is. Everything else exists within it and depends upon it for its apparent existence. When you truly look within, you do not find emptiness or confusion. You discover an intelligence that is always responding to your deepest needs and highest possibilities. You find a creative capacity that can transform any situation from within. You encounter a source of wisdom that knows exactly how to navigate whatever challenges appear. The rewriting of reality happens instantaneously because it is not actually a process of changing external conditions. It is a process of recognizing what has always been true. Your consciousness has always been creating your experience. Looking within simply makes this process visible and allows you to participate consciously. This is why external techniques for changing reality often produce limited results. They work with effects rather than causes. They attempt to manipulate circumstances without addressing the consciousness from which those circumstances arise. When you work from within, you address the source directly, and all effects naturally align with the new cause. Stay with me until the end because I will share a powerful mantra that can help you integrate these insights and begin applying them immediately in your daily experience. This mantra contains specific affirmations that work directly with the creative principles we are exploring, helping you establish the inner conditions from which your desired reality can naturally emerge. The journey inward is not a retreat from life, but a movement toward the creative center from which all life springs. It is a return to your authentic power as a conscious creator rather than an unconscious reactor. Every moment offers a fresh opportunity to look within and discover the infinite potential that awaits your recognition. The ancient wisdom tradition tells us, as above, so below. As within, so without. This hermetic principle reveals the fundamental correspondence between inner and outer worlds. What manifests in your consciousness inevitably appears in your external experience. When you understand this law, you possess the key to conscious creation. The moment you begin observing your inner landscape with genuine attention, you discover that thoughts and emotions are not random occurrences. They are creative forces operating according to precise principles. Each thought carries a specific frequency. Each emotion generates a particular field of influence. These frequencies and fields interact with the quantum substrate of reality to produce corresponding experiences in your outer world. Your subconscious mind functions as an infinite creative intelligence that never stops working. While your conscious mind sleeps, your subconscious continues processing information, solving problems, and organizing circumstances according to the patterns you have impressed upon it. The images you hold consistently in your mind become the blueprints from which your subconscious constructs your reality. Most people unknowingly program their subconscious with limitation, fear, and scarcity through repetitive negative thinking. They replay scenarios of what could go wrong, rehearse conversations filled with conflict, and imagine outcomes they do not want. Without realizing it, they are instructing their creative intelligence to produce exactly those unwanted experiences. When you look within consciously, you interrupt these unconscious programming cycles. You become aware of the mental movies playing continuously in your mind. You notice the emotional patterns that have been running automatically for years. This awareness itself begins the transformation process because consciousness and change are synonymous. The subconscious mind communicates through symbols, feelings, and intuitive knowing rather than linear logic. When you quiet the analytical mind through inner observation, you create space for this deeper intelligence to reveal itself. Solutions appear spontaneously. Insights arise without effort. Opportunities manifest with perfect timing. Your imagination is not a frivolous mental faculty, but the most powerful creative tool at your disposal. Every innovation, every work of art, every breakthrough in human history began as an image in someone's consciousness before becoming physical reality. When you consciously direct your imagination toward desired outcomes, you activate the same creative process that brings all manifestation into being. The key is learning to feel your desires as already fulfilled rather than as future possibilities. The subconscious mind responds to the emotional reality of your imagination, not to logical analysis of external conditions. When you generate genuine feelings of gratitude, joy, and satisfaction for what you desire to experience, you establish the inner conditions that magnetize corresponding outer conditions. Resistance arises because the logical mind insists that feeling fulfilled without physical evidence is unrealistic or delusional. But this resistance reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how creation actually works. Physical evidence is always the last step in the manifestation process, not the first. Inner reality always precedes outer expression. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual physical events. When you repeatedly visualize yourself living your desired reality with full sensory detail and emotional intensity, your nervous system adapts to that new state as if it were already true. This neuroplasticity creates new neural pathways that support behaviors and perceptions aligned with your vision. The practice requires consistency rather than perfection. Each time you return your attention to inner observation and conscious creation, you strengthen these new neural patterns. Each moment of awareness creates momentum toward transformation. Even small shifts in consciousness can produce dramatic changes in external circumstances because inner and outer reality are intimately connected. Your relationships mirror your relationship with yourself. Your financial situation reflects your sense of self-worth and abundance. Your health manifests your emotional patterns and beliefs about vitality. When you heal these inner dimensions through conscious awareness, the corresponding outer conditions naturally transform to match your new inner state. This is not about positive thinking or denial of current circumstances. It is about recognizing the creative power that operates through consciousness and learning to work with it deliberately. You acknowledge what is while simultaneously nurturing what is becoming. You respond to present conditions from a place of inner stability rather than reactive emotion. The transformation accelerates when you release attachment to specific outcomes while maintaining clear intention. Attachment creates tension and resistance that blocks the natural flow of manifestation. Clear intention provides direction without forcing. This combination allows your creative intelligence to work through the path of least resistance to produce results that often exceed your original expectations. Trust becomes essential as you learn to rely on inner guidance rather than external validation. The more you honor intuitive impulses and follow inner knowing, the more reliable this guidance becomes. Your life begins to flow with an effortless quality as you align with the creative intelligence that knows exactly how to orchestrate circumstances for your highest good. Every challenge that appears in your life is actually an invitation to go deeper within and discover new levels of creative power. Difficulties are not punishments or random occurrences, but opportunities to transcend limiting patterns and expand your consciousness. When you meet challenges from this perspective, they become catalysts for transformation rather than obstacles to overcome. The rewriting happens in layers as you peel away accumulated beliefs and patterns that no longer serve you. Each layer of release reveals new creative possibilities. Each expansion of consciousness opens new pathways for manifestation. The process continues indefinitely because consciousness itself is unlimited in its creative potential. Remember that you are not creating something separate from yourself when you manifest desired experiences. You are allowing your true nature to express itself more fully. Every desire represents an aspect of your authentic self-seeking expression. When you align with this understanding, manifestation becomes a natural unfolding rather than a forced effort. Your reality will rewrite itself the moment you look within, because within lies the source of all creation. Every external form is a reflection of consciousness. Every experience is an expression of awareness. When you recognize yourself as the aware presence from which all experience arises, you step into your role as conscious creator of reality itself. Now, as promised, here is a powerful mantra to help you integrate these insights and establish the inner conditions for conscious creation. Repeat these affirmations with genuine feeling and watch as your reality transforms to match your expanded awareness. I am the conscious creator of my reality. My inner world shapes my outer experience. I observe my thoughts and emotions with loving awareness. I direct my imagination toward my highest desires. I feel grateful for what is becoming manifest. I trust the creative intelligence within me. I release all resistance to my natural abundance. I align with the flow of infinite possibilities. My consciousness expands and my reality transforms. I am one with the source of all creation. The ancient mystic Rumi wrote, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." This wisdom captures the essence of everything we have explored. The moment you recognize that transformation begins within, you unlock the master key to reshaping your entire existence. You are not a passive observer trapped in fixed circumstances, but the active creator of every experience that unfolds. The journey inward reveals what has always been true. Consciousness is the ultimate reality from which all things emerge. Take this understanding and apply it moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. Your reality is waiting to be rewritten.